Shifting now to the latest details surrounding the ongoing efforts to develop a vaccine. There we go. We've gotten mixed messages about when we can expect a reliable vaccine to be rolled out, with some estimating that one could be ready by the end of the year, others saying it could be middle to late next year. We spoke to Dr. Amesh Adalja, assistant professor and senior scholar at Johns Hopkins University Center for Health Security. Dr. Adalja is also an advisor to the U.S. government on infectious disease emergencies. Here's what he had to say about the current status of the vaccine development and trials.
It's going to be a very daunting process to distribute this vaccine. You're talking about a 2-dose vaccine for 350 million or more people. So that's 700 million doses. It's going to be something that requires cold storage. So there is going to be a lot of logistical issues there. And that's why you're seeing the U.S. military be involved and other companies be involved in trying to figure out how they're going to get a vaccine that's developed into the arms of Americans. Because if it doesn't get distributed well, it's of no use. We have to get it into people. So this is going to be something that's very daunting and takes a lot of coordination. And it's going to be something that will likely stretch well into 2021 in the best case scenario. Some of these vaccines require what's called an ultra cold chain that has to be kept very, very cold, like around minus 70 degrees centigrade. So in order to do that, you're going to have large freezers available. And when you take the vaccine out of those large storage freezers, they can only remain viable for a couple of hours in an ordinary fridge. So that's going to limit how much supply is available at a doctor's office or at a drugstore. And we're going to continually need to replenish that stock from large storage containers that are able to keep that cold temperature. The average person can expect to get a vaccine well into 2021, perhaps the summer of 2021. They may be able to get it at their doctor's office, but more likely people are going to probably have to go to a health department clinic that might be set up where people may stand in line and get a vaccine, similar to what happened during H1N1, because logistically it's going to be hard to deliver and we have this cold storage issue. So it may be the easiest way to do this will be with health departments setting up common clinics where people can get vaccinated.
According to the World Health Organization, there are more than 190 vaccine candidates in development. 42 of those candidate vaccines are in human trials, while 151 remain in preclinical evaluation.
Developing a successful vaccine is only half the battle. From there, health authorities around the world will have to formulate a comprehensive plan for distributing the vaccine to those who need it most. And as Dr. Adalja explained, vaccine distribution is sometimes easier said than done.
We're making rapid progress towards a vaccine, but you have to remember that vaccine development is usually something we measure in years, not months. And although Operation Warp Speed has catapulted several different vaccines into phase 3 clinical trials, there's still some time to go. And it will likely be well into 2021 before the general public, if everything goes perfect, has access to a vaccine. Healthcare workers, there's a chance maybe by the end of 2020 that there could be some limited supplies of a certain vaccine available for them. But again, this is something that we have to hope for, but have to expect won't necessarily meet specific deadlines. Well, there are many different vaccine candidates in different clinical trial phases. There are several that are in phase 3. The ones that you hear headlines about, like Moderna or AstraZeneca or Pfizer, those are all in phase 3 clinical trials, which are the last phase. That's where you figure out, does this vaccine work and is it safe in tens of thousands of people? But there are other vaccines kind of at the back of the pack that are in earlier phases of clinical development. And some of those may actually prove to be promising, but our first vaccines are likely to probably emerge from this group that's in the phase 3 trials now.
And those health experts say developing and distributing a vaccine is not the end of the road. Doctors say they must vaccinate a certain percentage of the population for the vaccine to even be effective, but they expect that to be a challenge.
For this vaccine to be highly impactful, we want to get probably 80% of the population vaccinated, because otherwise we won't be near that herd immunity threshold. And you have to remember, we have to put in a buffer because not everybody is going to have an appropriate reaction to the vaccine. Some people the vaccine might not take. So we want to get above that herd immunity threshold to make sure that we have enough immunity in the community so that the virus finds it much harder to infect and harm people. With 2-dose vaccines, they're usually separated by 2 to 3 weeks. So that also adds another logistical layer to this, that you have to make sure that you're bringing people back because the vaccine won't be effective without that second dose. So that makes it even harder to deliver this vaccine. It's going to be extremely important to emphasize the need for this vaccine when we have the data that show it to be safe and effective. We're going to have to do basically public health detailing, because if the general public doesn't accept this vaccine, it will not be useful. And we will still be fighting this virus with the same tools that we have today. So we have to remember that there is a vaccine hesitancy and an anti-vaccine movement that are already poised to attack this vaccine even before it's available. So we have to be armed with the facts and the correct information and really be able to debunk the myths that are already starting to arise about these vaccines.
News Nation is monitoring all of the